aligned in a soul aligned business, we need to know our soul, right? Which means to know thyself, to know thy value. Yeah. And to know the value, we need to know our truth. And so many of us have these incredible ideas and beautiful dreaming. So being true to the dream so being true to the dream so the dream can be true to us. Yeah. But what tends to happen is that we have these default patterns, behaviors, emotions, reoccurring life cycles. Yeah. And so as soon as we get these, for want of a better word, life missions, downloads, we have this vision and this dream, what tends to happen is our shadow self, all our default patterns tend to want to kick in. When we're in alignment to our truth, we know our value, yeah, then we hold that space. We hold that space, yeah, yeah. And your truth and my truth may be two different truths, and that's okay because we're all here to contribute, contribute a new lens of perception, which is going to bring this unity consciousness alive.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Create Your Life. I am your host, Simone Leah. So I just wanted to let you guys know that today's interview is actually an interview that I recorded about a year ago when I ran an online event called the Soul-Led Entrepreneurs Summit. It was a really, really, really wonderful event. I had some beautiful, amazing speakers talking about things like connecting with your intuition and how you can use that in your business, how to do Facebook advertising, how to do marketing as a soul-led entrepreneur, all of these cool things to do with business, entrepreneurship, and actually also spirituality and connecting within. And so these interviews were so wonderful that I really wanted to be able to share them with you now. So if when you're watching this, you see or hear the word soul-led entrepreneurs, this is still the Create Your Life show, but these interviews were just too good for me to keep to myself any longer. So I really, really, really hope you guys enjoy this interview, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Hey guys, and welcome back to Soul-Led Entrepreneurs. My name is Simone and I'm your host today. Today I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Michele Cannan, who's a transformational activist awakening the soul of humanity. And she is amazing. She's also the creator of the Success Method and someone who I personally have worked with for a few years now. I literally love her. She's amazing. And what she's really good at and quite known for is helping people to just connect back in with who they are and their soul mission to be able to move forward and transform, to be able to reconnect and realign and create from that space of deep connection and knowing of self. So what we talked about today was creating a soul-based client-focused program, which was amazing. And the way that can kind of come about is through that deep connection to self. So the first part of this interview was really talking about having that connection to self and what it can look like when you don't have that connection, as opposed to what it looks like when you do have that connection. And then how you can actually create something from that place of deep connection to self. So it was a transformational interview that I know you guys will all love. And there are some definite things that you guys need to take notes on and write down. So grab a pen and paper and watch this interview because it is amazing. I'll see you guys soon. Hey guys, and welcome back to Soul-Led Entrepreneurs. My name is Simone, and today I am here with Michele Cannan, the creator of the Success Method, which I'm so excited to talk to you about and just talk to you in general. How are you, Michele?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me, beauty. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am so excited about this chat. I really, really want to just pick your brain on so many things. But just so you guys know out there in the audience, what we're talking about today is creating a soul-based client-focused program. And where Michele's genius and beauty lies is she really helps people to really connect in and be able to transform themselves so that they are in that full alignment with themselves, which is why I think she's the perfect person to have this conversation with, because we'll spend probably about half of this interview talking about how you can get back into that alignment with self so that you can create a soul-based and client-focused program. So I'm super excited about it, but let's start with the question of being, what does aligned in business mean to you, Michele?
Oh, what does being aligned in business mean? Well, it's being aligned in a soul aligned business, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to be aligned in a soul aligned business, we need to know our soul, right? Which means to know thyself, to know thy value. Yeah. And to know the value, we need to know our truth. And so many of us have these incredible ideas and beautiful dreaming. So being true to the dream, being true to the dream, so the dream can be true to us. Yeah. But what tends to happen is that we have these default patterns, behaviors, emotions, reoccurring life cycles. Yeah. And so as soon as we get these, for want of a better word, life missions downloads, we have this vision and this dream, what tends to happen is our shadow self, all our default patterns tend to want to kick in. Yeah. And so we default back inside this world of the known. Yeah. And hence comes in the procrastination, hence comes in the all of those fears of the unknown, the uncertainties. But when we know and we have the anchor point, yeah, in the foundation of where I started in my soul's journey, in my soul's mission, started for me primarily in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. And it's where a lot of the pieces had come together for me. And the embodiment, the true embodiment is where the alignment is. And when to have a soul aligned business, we have to know our soul, right? We have to truly know our soul. And so we have in Chinese medicine the yin and yang to everything. Yeah. So what tends to happen is that we polarize our lives, yeah, in the pursuit of good, bad, success, and failure. That we actually have what we're being called home to, we're being overstimulated and underintegrated, yeah. So on this pursuit of looking for external validation where we're chasing the carrot continually, and especially in the evolution of our planet right now, we have a lot of pain, fear, and confusion coming up, right? And so with this pain, fear, and confusion in a soul-aligned business, no value, we're not looking externally for validation. We are staying so aligned to the truth. We are serving that highest truth. And no matter what challenge happens in our external field, we're able to hold, we're able to anchor in that ocean of emotion. Yeah. In this emotion of volatility and uncertainty right now, we can stay in that unwavering, unchanging part of who we are. And from that place, we get so cognitive, intentional with our soul's mission, the mission that we are here to activate. And to do that, to hold that resonation, to be that emission, to be that frequency, we need to embody. We need to embody and live and be that truth. Yeah. And when we have that anchor point, when we drop in, we know that place, we are in alignment. Yeah. And so when these triggers, the negative, challenging experiences come in, we see it as a powerful opportunity for growth. We see it for a very, very powerful opportunity for growth. And we stay aligned. And what happens is when we stay in that alignment, to the truth of our mission, the truth of who we are, know thyself, know thy value, the matrix moves around us and the magnetization field fully activates. Yeah. So the yin and the yang, masculine and feminine, come into the wholeness. Yeah. They work to create paths to really manifest the creation of what we're here to be, do, and live. Yeah.
I literally love that. I think that's so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, because you've kind of touched on a lot of what I would have asked in the next question is, how can we tell if we are out of alignment? Which, as you're saying, it's all these little triggers and things that are coming up. So like, just to give a quick example, what would a couple of triggers be for someone who's in a business and they're feeling out of alignment? What are some things that could be coming up for them that show that they're kind of like needing to just reconnect into self?
You're not getting the lead gen. Yeah. You're not You're not creating that field of attraction. You're doubting yourself. You're doubting your mission. And we start off with these incredible inspired ideas, but then as we move into the creation process, anything that is not that is being called to be transformed is going to come up. Yeah. So it's what's known as, falling into the shit pits of the incredible law of creation. We have this incredibly inspired ideas. And holy moly, it all starts to come up. All the challenges start to come in, the emotionality, and really knowing our emotional intelligence. The emotions are the language of the soul. Yeah. And that trilogy, what I've called and coined the trilogy of transformation: cognitive, neural, and energetic. Yeah. When we can bring those three into alignment, cognition, the way we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Mastering the lens of perception is mastering the human experience. Yeah. And that's what we're here for. Our perception is our superpower, literally. Nothing is as it seems. Yeah. So when we learn how to translate, and this is what I feel is my greatest contribution to humanity right now, is learning how to translate the human experience to master your life. Yeah. So when we're able to see all negative experiences as activators of our potential, we're able to deeply drop in to that anchor point that I was talking about, that soul value. And there's a process that I've developed to access that through the 5-phase transformational process. So when we drop into that place and we can observe from that place, those mirror neurons literally are the lens through which we see life is how we live life. And we have a delete and distort mechanism in the brain that we will have one experience. And I do this in a lot of my workshops, whether there's 10 people, whether there's 1,500 people there. I will run an experience, and there will be 10 to 1,500 different lenses of perception of that one experience, right? So perception is so powerful. It is so powerful. And when we are able to translate that and understand we are all here to bring a contribution, what happens is that we're able to drop in, we're able to allow that flight and fight response to settle. We can let that part of our brain know, the amygdala, the vagus nerve, we can let that whole part of our being know that we are safe. Yeah, we are safe, and we can drop in and we can come into that center to stay aligned with that truth, to move through the transformational process. But to do that, we've got to learn how to translate all experiences, challenges, negative emotions, and empower them as the gateway to freedom.
Yeah. I literally love that. Thank you. And I'd love to touch on like an even deeper example of, so obviously, like when you're soul aligned, there's a lot of listen to your intuition, listen to your intuition. What about if you feel like you're listening to your intuition, but as you mentioned earlier with lead generation, you're not getting all of the leads and you're not attracting in the people you want to, but you're kind of like, I'm listening in, I'm listening to my intuition. I've done the ad how my intuition has told me to, but I'm not getting the leads I'm on, What happens in that sort of situation? Because you are listening to your intuition, but you're not getting the results. So how would that all tie in with obviously going back and doing the inner child work and knowing you're out of alignment and getting back into that alignment?
Yeah, well, I mean, if that trigger there, instantly what I hear is a flight and fight mechanism, right? So the frequency, the vibration that's emanating is, I'm not enough. Like, why is this happening? What's going on? So all we get is an experience of not enough. And really, this is the pandemic we have on the planet right now, is the not enough pandemic. And this is the triggers that are coming in globally, for us to wake up to that there is no such thing as lack. Yeah. So whenever this, oh my God, what's going on? We're simply being called back into the alignment to who we truly are, to move back into flow. And of course, this strategy, and then there's the energetics, sales and service. But to be of service, we've got to be of service to our truest self, right? To our deepest and divinest, most potent self. And as I was saying before, in Chinese medicine, the alignment is through the liver energy. In Chinese medicine, we have two aspects of the soul. So we have the yin and the yang. Everything in Chinese medicine is yin and yang. And the yin aspect of the soul resides in the lungs. Yeah, so the lung is connected to the reptilian brain. And what tends to happen is that 3 days after conception, we start to develop our neural pathways in utero. We start to be these data collecting, beautiful little mechanisms, organisms, yeah. And we're sort of pulling it all in. So our central nervous system, we come in to really complete on a lot of soul contracts. And in my observation, my personal experience, we're here to come into completion of this not enough pandemic. So that yin aspect of the soul, come back to the breath. And this is where I come back to continually know thyself, know thy value. Because if you're being triggered and there's that panic, yeah, we're being called to come into alignment, come off automation, come off that flight and fight response, complete on these generational lineages of pain, fear, and confusion and lack, to come back into the power of the now where life is actually taking place, yeah? No longer in polarization, good, bad, success, failure, yeah? Avoiding one, seeking the other. But we come back into the power of the now, right here, right now, where life is actually taking place. Come into the conscious control, the conscious fitness is what I like to call the conscious fitness. To do that, we need to know our soul. We need, and emotional intelligence is the language of the soul, is the quantum field of energy, yeah? So if we're triggered, we're being called into a transformational process, but first we need to translate it. The yang aspect of the soul is that liver energy, yeah? And if we're in flight and fight, the liver energy in Chinese medicine, just to clarify that, is the ethereal soul. So we've got the corporal soul, doesn't mean a lot, I'm sure, right now, and the ethereal soul, but the most purest divine part of our dreaming. The liver, yeah, the eyes are the orifice to the liver, the eyes are windows to the soul. All seeing, our visioning, right? So when we have a vision, we have a dream, but we're in flight and fight. And this protection mechanism is wanting to pull us back into the safety of the known pain, fear, and confusion, and default us back into nothingness, or to sit inside the fear of the known. It makes it very hard for us to come into alignment, right? Very hard to come into alignment. So we go through the translation period, we go through the translation phase, open up that liver energy to come back into flow, into alignment by knowing our soul value, and come into full activation. And I know with all that I am, you will be guided to the wisdom of the answer right there, right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone is going through that, how can they start to connect back in with their soul then? If they're literally they're in a meeting with someone and they can feel this stress response kicking in and they're doing something, or they're really busy, or how can they start to really connect back in and listen to where they need to be?
Well, again, it's knowing that mission. It's knowing your mission and being so true to that mission. You're taking that breath, dropping in. But if we don't have an anchor point, then the flight and fight response is going to take over. It's going to take over. And this is where I come back to the conscious fitness. It's where I come back to the conscious fitness. Yeah. And I've had a real opportunity at the whole other level in the last few months to really apply this in quite an acute situation. And even my husband was observing how I was literally navigating this situation, and he was just blown away. He was blown away. The challenges that were coming in through this time, I'd stop, drop in, reconnect, align to that mission, and allow myself to consciously respond versus unconsciously react. But there is preliminary work. There is preliminary work to really, it's like we can't go to the gym once and expect to be fit, as wonderful as that would be, right? It's the same with conscious fitness. We've got to know that place within us, and it's wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, and keep applying the knowledge. So many of us have this cognitively, and this is the other aspect of the trilogy of transformation: cognitive, neural, and energetic. But the nervous system is our greatest work of humanity right now, upgrading the nervous system. When we know how to basically override that flight and fight mechanism, to switch it off through the translation of our alter ego, yeah, not enough. If someone's sitting in a meeting going, oh my God, this isn't going where, oh my God, then they're in a flight and fight response. Yeah, they're in a flight and fight response. I'm not good enough there. I'm not being valued. I'm not being validated enough here. I'm not getting enough feedback. But if we know our value, we're not seeking that external validation. We stay in that place and we guide and we lead that space around us. Yeah. So the external world is no longer ruling our experience, the cause and effect. We become the cause to the effect, and we magnetize that space towards us. Yeah.
Amazing. So what I'm kind of hearing is that, yeah, you do that preliminary work, but then you're not done. You can just keep dropping in when things come up. It's not like you do that, you go to the gym 5 times and you're fit, so then you stop going to the gym for the rest of your life. It's one of those things where when you start to do the work, you just consciously need to reconnect in every time you feel something coming up. Does that sound? Yeah.
100%. 100%. And that becomes the freedom of our essential nature. Yeah. It's not about second nature. The second nature is the default pattern. When we're in alignment to our truth, we know our value. Yeah. Then we hold that space. We hold that space. Yeah. Yeah. And your truth and my truth may be 2 different truths. And that's okay, because we're all here to contribute, contribute a new lens of perception, which is going to bring this unity consciousness alive. But when we're fighting for our truth, no, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right. Yeah. Again, we have this polarization protection, and we're not, it's the classic masterminding. When 2 minds come together, a third is created. Napoleon, right? So when we can contribute and we can hear, first seek to understand before being understood. And if you're not getting the feedback, that you're desiring, ask the questions. What's your experience? What are you hearing? How's this landing for you? Because then you get to hear what's going on for them. You're not in a perceived lens of perception, of a presupposition that nothing's working, nothing's happening. People can be sitting there. I mean, when I've been, running, workshop seminars or, speaking, you're looking at a room of people that sometimes can be just, staring back at you, and there's not a lot of feedback. And then people come to you afterwards and just go, oh my God, that was life-changing. Yeah. So you've got to hold that space, and you've got to be so focused on delivering your message to step beyond your fear. And that takes courage. It's okay to feel fear. It's an activator of our potential when we know how to translate it, right? So courage doesn't come without strength or fear. It doesn't have to be one or the other, but courage allows us to be present, connected to our message, and be so in service to that truth, that we know that's what we're here to deliver. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes. And so true. And I love that you're saying that you just have that strength within yourself. So it's not like there is a right or a wrong. It's almost like you're bamboo, and you're just you're stable in yourself, and things come up, but you don't actually break. You just kind of are like, oh yeah, cool, slight readjustment there, go again. You know what I mean? Which is such an amazing place to be in. But I'd also love to just touch on something that you've said to me before, which I absolutely love. And I want to bring it up because I just remembered it while we were chatting, is that I remember you saying to me, basically, to paraphrase, questions equal clarity. And so I love that when you were saying that before, that if you are finding, like, the perception is the key. So if you are finding a mismatch with what's happening with someone you're talking to in your business or a client or whatever, getting that clarity by asking more questions of what their perception is, that's also going to help transform things, really, isn't it?
100%. The power of the quality question. The power of the quality question is everything. In all what I call the soul pillars, as you know, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, personal, professional, relationships, time, self, and others. Yeah. And so when we're able to ask that quality question, yeah, we're able to get the quality response. The quality of our questions determine the quality of our lives. Yeah. And so it brings us out of defensiveness. It brings us out of fear of not being accepted, rejected. And again, rejection is a massive one that we're transforming right now through the central nervous system. It's the oldest primordial emotion that we have. You know, there's been case studies done where they've activated rejection and watched it on in science labs, how the brain has lit up, the pain receptor sites have lit up in the brain, and exactly the same pain receptor sites as when we're actually physically hurting. Yeah. So what they did is they gave these test subjects Panadol, you know, to relieve the pain symptoms, hit the same rejection triggers, emotional triggers, and the receptor sites were halved, literally halved. So when we're able to really understand that rejection is a call home to connection of our truth, yeah, because rejection in the past meant that we were ostracized from our tribe and we wouldn't survive. And this is all a survival mechanism. But when we can drop into our truth, deeply connect to that, and speak from that place, we become very powerful empathic leaders. Very, very powerful empathic leaders. And this is something I'm going to be coming out with a lot in the next year or so, over the next year, is empathic leadership. Because the empathy, when we understand and be able to differentiate what's yours and what's mine, we hold our truth. We can lean into any places of conflict and see that as the most powerful place of transformation.
Yeah. I literally love that. And that does tie in with that knowing your truth and not letting yourself break. You're just solid in your truth and just making adjustments as you go along. And I guess as you pick up those perceptions of what's going on around you as well, those other perceptions, which is amazing. And I love that. So
yeah, it's what I call the sorry, sweetheart, just to jump in there.
Yeah.
It's what I call the align and refinement process. Align and refine, align and refine. So with every cycle that we come back through, we align and refine, we align and refine. And whether that's in a micro cycle of being in a meeting or whether that's in our personal lives, yeah, that cycle is going to come back around, and we just keep aligning and refining until it completely collapses and we've transformed and received the gift.
Yeah, I literally love that. And I even love that to speak to that a little bit more is that, as you said, it's like you have that thing and then you're fine. You have the thing, then you're fine. And eventually you might release it out. But in some cases, that release might take a month or it might take 2 years of cycle and refine. So yeah, I love that you mentioned that it eventually you'll do the work and you'll get there. But obviously initially it's a little bit like peeling back the layers of an onion, and you do that work and over time then it releases. And I don't want to get into this too much, but how does that kind of process look for people if they wanted to get an understanding of how removing those layers even looks?
Ooh-wee. All right. Well, as I always say, the power is in the simplicity, right? Just a little bit of my back history. I had so many reoccurring life cycles, patterns, behaviors that I either had to believe I was hexed or there was a master plan in play, right? And it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter how much work I'd been through. And from designing innovative world first templates, airlines to being bedridden with full-blown PTSD for 3 months at a time, from being in toxic, emotionally abusive relationships and it didn't matter what work I did. It was like, how am I back here? How am I back here, right? So it started me on my journey. It started because I knew there had to be more. I had a string of beautiful people that I loved passed away, from finding my partner hanging from the ceiling to, my best girlfriend's baby passed from cot death to my mother. So there had to be more to this. It was like, how could one person be experiencing so much? And it became myself. And in that time, it was like, could someone just hand me the manual on how to do human? Can someone just give me the manual on how to do this thing called being human, right? And so that became my soul's mission. was to create that manual. And so over time, studying everything from, like I always say, from shamanism to science, yeah, and everything in between. What I did is I collected all the pieces. You know, we are multidimensional beings. We look at one area, and this is what the trilogy of transformation is about: cognitive, neural, and energetic. I explain the cognition. The energetic is very much the emotionality. The neural is our nervous system. And so this process of, like, you know, studying everything from, meditation to NLP to TCM, all the acronyms, you name it. I've done it, all the degrees, bachelors, workshops, meditations, books, retreats. It's like, well, how much more do you need to do before you crack the code on this? And what I did is I got the insight that there was a piece in each one of these modalities, therapies, and created a 5-phase transformational process that is a full embodiment process that brings you into incredible alignment, that really brings us from unconscious to conscious, from fear to freedom, from pain to pleasure. Yeah. And in that 5-phase transformational process, you are given the tools and the manual on how to do human.
I literally love that. Yeah. And it is a process, and that's so great. What I would love to know now, because that actually perfectly leads into how do you go about creating a soul-based client-focused program? Because obviously with you went about collecting all the information, and then, you know, it turned into this beautiful program. How does someone else create a program from that place of alignment? Because obviously we do hear a lot about the old saying of, you know, work out how much you want to earn per year and how many hours you want to spend doing it, and that's your hourly wage. But that's not really going to work for us soul aligned people. So how do they connect in to be able to understand and execute what they're supposed to be offering?
You know, for myself and the beautiful people that I lead through this journey, you know, again, let me use myself as the example. So I would go out there and do these incredible missions, you know, for other people, for other companies. And somehow, some way, that rug would be pulled out from underneath me, and I'd be like dusting myself off, whether it was for intimate, family members, or whether it was for high-end corporate businesses. Until we understand our core perception, our contracted lens of perception is what I like to call it. Some could call it limiting belief systems, but for me, they are places that have served us and kept us very, very safe, right? We can learn all the strategy and all of the systems and procedures. That's very much a learned process, yeah? But if we don't have the alignment to the contrast of the pain, fear, and confusion that we're experiencing, then it's very hard to get out of the gates. It's going to, and you're going to be pushing, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to feel like a struggle, and, you know, it's going to take all your willpower, and you're going to feel burnt out, and you're going to feel adrenally exhausted. Yeah. The systems and structures, I can give you templates, that's no problem. And I have given a lot of people these systems and templates, yeah. But unless, and basically that's the shell of a beautiful Ferrari. It looks pretty, and this is what we see a lot in business. We get these really pretty businesses, and that they look great online, and there's all, and I say this with all the love in my heart, but then we get behind, and there's a lot of fear and uncertainty, because the anchor point and the knowing of that mission isn't embodied. Yeah, it isn't embodied and aligned. And so once we get that, we can bring that 20% strategy in, and the rest is the inner job. The rest is the inner job, because our businesses are where our souls get to be expressed. It's where our mission gets to be expressed. And this is why, you know, I do my programs in 2 phases, is what has been known as the soul apprenticeship, which is, it's been rebranded now to the success method, because we're so used to doing it for everybody else and everything else and for money and doing more to have more. But we've got to learn how to be humans being. When we can be in that, when we can be present to that, yeah, we can consciously respond, we can stay in alignment, and we can use those incredible strategies and vehicles, yeah, to drive the car. But if there's no engine, we've got a very pretty Ferrari, but there's nothing driving it.
Yeah.
There's nothing driving it.
Amazing and so true. And so if someone is kind of new to this sort of work and they have previously put together a program that at the time they thought it was great, but as you're mentioning, they don't necessarily have that connection to it. Can doing that work within themselves realign them to that program they've already made? Or will doing that work more transform them into some new alignment that is some new creation that is more in alignment?
Could be both. Yeah, it depends on what the calling is. Depends on what the calling is, right? Was that initial offering, was it coming from an external need for an external validation? Was it coming from a place of needing money? Was it coming from a place of survival, not enough, and like here? And there could be elements that could be extracted to create another beautiful evolution of that. Or maybe it just gets shelved and it's a learning process and on to the next beautiful mission. No wrong way, but that depends on the individual. That depends on the individual's contract and where the initial offering was birthed from. Yeah. But I've served people in both situations, yeah, where it's like, I know this is what I've got to bring to the world. And it's like frustration. And frustration, the language of the soul, is asking us to make another choice. It's asking us to come into alignment, right? And when I can feel that level in people, I'm like, okay, all right, let's bring this through. And there's other times where there's just no connection and it's just a beautiful looking shell, but there's no soul in there. There's no engine. So I'm like, let's start again.
I love that though, because it means like people don't have to think to themselves, the second I start doing the work, all of the previous business stuff I've done can be scrapped. That's not it at all, and as you're saying, sometimes that underneath reason why you started the business in the first place is so strong that you just got to make those little adjustments and then you're flying, whereas other times, if you're coming from the wrong place,
well, is there any wrong place? It's just, again, it's learning how to translate that experience to bring it into alignment, right? Yeah. If there's a truth there, it wants to lead you to truth, but we've got to lean into it, not away from it. And that's our survival mechanism, not overriding, overcompensating, polarizing, good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure. I must be successful. I must be, but the irony is so many people have the deepest fear of being successful because it means I'm going to be seen. It means I have to come out of hiding of the safety of the known. But it's in that unknown is the adventure playground of life. But as humans, we're learning to trust that. And the trust is the key to accessing the knowing to keep on keeping on. Yeah. And yeah.
I literally love everything we're talking about. I probably need some new words because I'm always saying how much I love everything, but that's okay. But what I actually want to speak to on this exact note is, like previously you just mentioned that 20% is working and about 80% is like your vibrational, your inner work, basically. So if someone is putting a program together, every time they're feeling that efforting coming up, is that their resistance calling that something needs a little bit of a shift?
Again, there's an unconscious and conscious lens to this, right? The resistance can be used as resistance training, yeah? And then unconsciously what we resist, we persists, right? So again, it's that translation piece. Resistance doesn't necessarily mean you're on the wrong track. Yeah, it means that you're being called into an alignment process. Yeah, but it's again, and you'll hear me bang on about this till I reckon I exit. It's learning the translation piece. Yeah. So are we literally pushing up against something that's a dead end? Or is the resistance asking us to build that conscious fitness muscle and come into translation and come into full alignment? But there is no wrong experience. Like, there is no wrong experience. There is no wrong emotion. And we're so conditioned to fearing being wrong, to getting it wrong. Failure is feedback. Failure is feedback. Yeah. And I've definitely walked down a lot of dead ends, right? But there has been a gift in each one of those experiences. Yeah. A piece of each life puzzle that's been needed to create that whole and entire experience. Yeah. There is no wrong experience. But again, it's learning how to translate that resistance.
Yeah. I literally love that. So if someone was feeling like in their business they're doing 80% effort and 20% internal, what would you say to that person?
Let's have a chat.
Yeah.
Let's have a chat. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, because there is no lack. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard. And this is what we do a lot in my mastery program. It's all about ease and grace, really. And we can still have ease and grace in the most challenging of times. Yeah, we can still have that ease and grace because it allows us to be more present. And the power of presence is everything. When we can, like when fear, challenge, all of those things turn up, I humble myself at the feet of the pain, fear, confusion, or the uncertainty, or the challenge, and it will dissipate. I've now got it down to a place where it's almost I could do it within 24 hours. Yeah, what would take me years and months, weeks, like, oh my God, what's happening? It's what I call the rocket ship moment. You're going through that, the cold sweats, white knuckle claws sometimes in the back end while you're smiling for the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. But no more. It's full transparency, and it's in that vulnerability. It's being able to drop in, and if it's hard, if it's arduous, stop, please. Just stop. Give yourself that permission to stop, because you're running on adrenal, you're running on flight and fight, and you're running out of the fear of not being enough. Baseline. But then there's the niching down of what that lens of perception, how you've taken on that experience from a very, very young age. Yeah. When I work with CEOs or beautiful single mums, that the process is the same for everybody, but everybody has a unique lens of perception, because we're all here to offer a unique offering, and it's within you. And if you've got that calling, then you're ready. It's just that refinement and alignment process.
Yeah. Amazing, literally amazing. And I just, there's so many things to even say with what you've just said there. But I just love it because when you are putting together your business and your offering, you want it to be coming from a place of flow. You never put a business, or I don't know about you, but you never put a business together going, I'm doing this because I just want to work hard 20 hours a day and I never want to see my family. And this business is going to make millions and millions of dollars and I'm going to be exhausted and it's going to be amazing. Like, no one puts a business together like that. You know what I mean? So I love that you're saying that process. It should be like 20% of the businessing is actual businessing, but there should be that element of ease and flow in there. And if there's not, what I'm hearing is that you just need to get back into that connection to self again so that you can move forward from that place of ease and flow.
Exactly. From that place is key, right? From that place. And so many people are so scared of stopping. Yeah. So many people are just petrified. Literally, if I stop, it's all going to crumble and fall away. It's actually the opposite. Yeah, you're going to give yourselves time, space, and grace to really look at that field of energy, that internal, do some internal work to settle that whole central nervous system, you know. And the overwhelm is a big one, especially for entrepreneurs. Yeah. And as soon as I feel that come in, I know I'm pushing up against an old skin of my experience, an old perception, an old limiting belief that's asking me to move beyond that and into overflow. Yeah. So it's knowing again how to translate that experience, how to be with that experience, not to override it, not to suppress it, not to make it wrong, not to numb it. Yeah. But because there is no wrong experience. There is no wrong experience. Yeah. And so just give yourself permission to stop.
Amazing. I feel like that leads perfectly into my next question would be, what are your top 3 tips? And I feel like giving yourself permission to stop is definitely an amazing tip for all entrepreneurs for when they're feeling that little bit out of alignment. But what other tips would you have for someone who does want to create this soul-led, client-focused business from alignment? What tips would you have for those people?
Yeah. Make sure your sphere of influence around you. Yeah. Make sure you've got your team. Make sure you've got your team that you can lean into, that can support you, that can call you forward when you're hiding, that inspires you, yeah, that activates you, that activation, yeah. Your sphere of influence is crucial to your alignment. It really is. It's crucial. Who's at the round table with you? Who's at your round table? And it's like inspiration is it's derivative, it's inspired from within. Desire is the sire from within, Latin origins, right? So when we have the desire and inspiration in our field of resonation, our field of influence, yeah, you're gonna be lifted. You're gonna be lifted. I am continually looking for people around me that have walked the path that I want to walk. Yeah. It's like, because I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by that. But if you're shrinking and going, oh my God, I'm not good enough, lean towards it. Go towards it. Be seen in that vulnerability, because it's deep in that vulnerability where you're going to create powerful connections and activate. Yeah. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Master that one. Master that one. Yeah. Number 2, really master that one. Again, it's that translation piece, because you know, I wrote a piece on this, a little blog the other day, what I call the rocket ship moment. Yeah, because when you're feeling extremely uncomfortable, that's where you're going to go through your greatest growth. Where you're going to go through your greatest growth. But again, in the ebb and the flow, knowing that anchor point, breathing into it, and letting yourself push up against that old skin and move beyond the overwhelm to come into overflow. But you've got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And as humans, we don't like that. We don't like that. We're reprogramming that one, yeah? And I believe with time, that's going to shift. It doesn't always have to be that way. Growth doesn't have to be uncomfortable. But at this point, especially what's with our planet right now, we gotta expand beyond the consciousness that we're in right now. And these rocket ship moments literally launch us into a new stratosphere of consciousness, which gives us a whole new perception and a way of being. Yeah. And that's the ultimate, the essential, the freedom of the essential nature. Yeah. Yeah. Master that perception. Master that perception is number 3 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lens of perception. It's our superpower. You will shift your paradigm, your reality, those mirror neurons. When you understand the emotional intelligence, the language of the soul, how our central nervous system really can delete and distort our experience. Yeah. So I was saying 10 people in the room or 1,500 people in the room, everyone will have a different experience. Yeah. Is it in its unconscious or conscious form? Are we in defensive and protection, or in contribution and collaboration? Yeah. Master the lens of perception is number 3 for me.
I actually just want to highlight your exact words just a minute ago, because I think that that just is worth repeating. So you're either in protection, or what was it? Protection or something, and then clarity and contribution. Like, I thought that was amazing. I think
Yeah, totally. We're either in protection and isolating and hiding, or we're in contribution and collaboration. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And I think that that's something that people should literally be writing down and taking with them throughout their day when something comes up, and just going, am I protecting and hiding, or am I contributing? Where's my energy? Because I think that it's really easy for people to feel the vibrational difference between those two extremes. So if you guys at home can just grasp that that concept and hold on to it, maybe put it on your fridge for a few days, that's going to be a really easy way for you to check in with yourself and see where you're actually operating from. Because you could find that I'm stressed out, I'm stressed out, I'm stressed out. Hang on a minute. Stressed out is me, like, kind of, I'm feeling like I'm feeling protected, and I'm feeling like I'm hiding a little bit, and I'm not, I'm stressed. I'm not necessarily contributing. I'm stressed, you know what I mean? And it's going to give people that a little bit of a tool to be able to get that clarity within. So everybody write that down.
And it eliminates the comparison stuff too, right? It eliminates comparison and competition, and it just allows deep connection. It's like, wow, what are you contributing? What am I contributing? How can we come together to create an even more amazing, beautiful world, right? Because it's that internal world. The work is in the internal world. Yeah. The 5 elements, every organ within us represents an element in nature. There's a big concept that I'm committed to really sharing and supporting humanity and getting. It's that internal world. We are microcosms to the macro. And if we're vibrating off protection, isolation, defensiveness, competition, what are we going to get more of? Yeah. What are we going to get more of? We are so powerful. And this whole process on our planet right now is calling us back to the power of who we truly are, the reclaiming. Yeah, and if you got a calling, beautiful people, you're ready.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And I love that you just given a little bit more clarity around that. And so that brings me to the question of, where can people find you if they want to learn or hear more?
I can put a link in. I don't know if you're putting links up, but contact me directly on Facebook. We can, reach out. Just reach out. I can put my website on Michele Cannan, Cannan, Cannan. You can go to my website, literally michellecannan.com. Send me a message. Find me on Facey, Insta. I'm around. I'm pretty easy to find. But reach out, and we can set up a connection call.
Literally love that. I will post all of those links. So that's so amazing. And I love that you said Facebook and Instagram, because that means people now know the best places to find you, which is amazing. Because I know everybody will want to touch base and connect with you and just hear the beautiful wisdom that you offer, because you do work on such a deeper level to really help people connect and transform. So I literally love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And honestly, this has been such an amazing interview. I know that everyone's going to get so much out of this. So thank you so much for your time.
An honor and a pleasure. Great to be of service in any way that I can. Yeah, thanks for having me, beauty.